On the day of my sister's wedding, the one I paid for, I stood outside the venue holding a gift I spent hours picking out. But when I gave my name at the front, the woman checking the list blinked and said, "Sorry, you're not on the guest list." Hi, my name is Rachel, and this is the story of how I spent $80,000 on my sister's dream wedding, only to be erased from it like I never existed. Yeah, that really happened. The worst part? I didn't just pay, I planned it. I was there for every fitting, every food tasting, every meltdown when things went wrong. I made it happen. She wanted a beachfront ceremony? Done. Designer dress? Done. Custom floral arrangements flown in from Italy? Done. She didn't just ask for my help. She begged for it, and I gave everything. And then, when the big day came, my name wasn't even on the list. I wish I could tell you that was the worst part, but it wasn't. Because what I found out later, that was the real betrayal. And when I tell you how I turned it all around, well, let's just say I made sure she never forgot what she did. If you were me, would you crash the wedding? Or disappear and make her regret everything? Let me know in the comments before we dive in. And don't forget to hit subscribe, because this story is just getting started. They say family always comes first, but I've learned the hard way. That's not always true. My name is Rachel. I'm 32, and I've always been the reliable one in the family. You know the type, the one who shows up, who remembers birthdays, who keeps secrets, who smooths things over when people mess up. And growing up with my younger sister Danielle, that role became second nature. She was always the wild one, the pretty one, the center of attention. I was the steady background, quiet, dependable, invisible when it was convenient. And I accepted that. I told myself that's just how families work. Some of us shine, some of us hold the flashlight. So when Danielle got engaged to Travis, a high-powered finance guy from New York, I was genuinely happy for her. I even cried when she told me. She said it was a surprise proposal in a vineyard, the ring was flawless, and everything felt like a fairy tale. It was one of the few times I'd heard real joy in her voice. But that fairy tale came with a big price tag. A few weeks later, she called me in a panic. "Rach, I need help," she said, voice shaking. "I want this wedding to be perfect, but we're short. And I can't ask Mom, and Travis's parents are already maxed out." Before she even finished, I said yes, without hesitation. I had money saved. Years of hard work, good investments, some inheritance. It was supposed to be for a down payment on a home, maybe a solo trip to Europe. But this was my sister, her big day, and if I could make it easier, why wouldn't I? And so, just like that, I was footing the bill. At first, it felt kind of magical. Danielle and I started spending time together again. We were picking out floral arrangements, tasting overpriced macarons, laughing over how hideous some dresses were. For a few weeks, it felt like we were kids again, sneaking into Mom's closet to try on heels and pretend we were brides. But slowly, things shifted. I started noticing small things, little slights, moments that made me pause, like when she posted a picture of us at a cake tasting and tagged the baker but not me, or when she scheduled a bridal brunch and said it was just for her close girls, even though I was the one paying for it. I tried not to read into it. I kept reminding myself, it's her wedding, she's stressed, don't be sensitive. Then came the seating chart conversation. We were in her apartment, surrounded by scraps of paper and fancy calligraphy pens, sipping wine. I asked where she wanted me to sit during the ceremony. She blinked at me. "Oh, I figured you'd be floating, helping with logistics, maybe coordinating with the planner." I stared at her. "You don't want me seated during the ceremony?" "Well, I mean, you'll be around, obviously. You're kind of behind the scenes, right?" Something about the way she said it, behind the scenes, made my chest tighten, like I was an employee, not her sister. Still, I smiled, nodded, swallowed it down. But then came the dress-fitting incident, the moment that cracked everything wide open. We were at a boutique downtown, finalizing adjustments to her reception dress. A gorgeous lace mermaid gown, delicate and custom-fitted. The stylist complimented the fabric and casually said, "Your fiancé has great taste. He really liked this one when he came in last week." Danielle stiffened. "Excuse me?" The stylist looked confused. "He was here with... I assumed it was you?" Danielle forced a smile, but her eyes were wide. He wasn't even in the city last week. The stylist blushed. Oh, I must have made a mistake. My apologies. But we both knew she hadn't. Her hands were shaking the rest of the appointment. That night, I got a text from Danielle. Forget what that lady said. She was confused. Don't make a big deal out of it. No explanation, no apology, no thank you for spending another $2,500 on alterations. Just that. And that's when it hit me. Something was wrong. This wasn't about a wedding. This wasn't about money. This was about secrets. Real ones. Ugly ones. And I had a feeling I was right in the middle of them, without even knowing it. I couldn't stop thinking about that dress fitting. The stylist's voice echoed in my head for days. I assumed it was you. The way Danielle had reacted, stiff, defensive, almost scared, it didn't sit right with me. And her text after? Cold, dismissive. It wasn't like her, or maybe it was. Maybe I was finally seeing her clearly. I tried to brush it off, told myself I was overthinking things. That stress was making me paranoid, but that little voice in my gut wouldn't shut up. So I did something I've never done before. I snooped. I told myself it wasn't snooping. It was looking out for my sister, protecting my investment. But deep down, I knew. I was digging because something in me already knew the truth. I just didn't want to believe it yet. It started small. I checked the boutique's Instagram account, looking through tagged photos and stories from the past few weeks. Nothing at first. But then, I found a video, a behind-the-scenes reel showing Travis with another woman, standing in front of the mirror Danielle had used. It wasn't just a quick shot. He was smiling, laughing, placing his hand gently on the woman's back as she adjusted the dress on the mannequin. And the woman, she wasn't Danielle. She was taller, brunette, and from the angle of the video, I could see her profile. Sharp features, expensive taste. Not someone you'd mistake for my sister. Not even close. The post was tagged, Avery James style, pre-wedding consult with the groom and family. Bridal week, I clicked the tag. Avery James. I had heard that name before. It took me a second, but then I remembered. Danielle had mentioned a girl named Avery once. Said she was Travis's annoying coworker who texted him late at night because of client emergencies. Danielle had rolled her eyes when she said it, even joked about how she wasn't worried. She's not his type, she'd said. Too intense. Turns out, intensity was his type. I kept digging. Avery's page was private, but the boutique's wasn't. I messaged them pretending to be a bride-to-be asking about their process. The receptionist was sweet and chatty. And when I casually dropped Travis's name, she said, "Oh yes, he was just in with his fiancée last Thursday. Avery, I believe. Such a power couple." My stomach dropped. Power couple. So, Avery wasn't just some side fling. She wasn't a one-time mistake. She was engaged to the same man who was marrying my sister in 2 weeks. I didn't cry. Not then. I didn't even scream. I just sat there reading the message over and over again, my fingers trembling over the keyboard. My heart wasn't breaking for Danielle. Not yet. It was like my body was in shock, like I was watching it all happen to someone else. But then came the next wave of realization. He wasn't just cheating. He was double booked. 2 engagements, 2 weddings, same month. And Danielle? She had no idea. Or, did she? That was the question I couldn't shake. Because suddenly, little things started clicking into place. The coldness, the way she kept me at arm's length, the moments she seemed nervous when Travis was mentioned, the bridal events I wasn't invited to. Was it guilt? Was it shame? Or was it something worse? Had she found out and decided to go through with it anyway? And what about the money? $80,000. Had I been funding a lie? I wanted answers. But more than that, I wanted proof. So I took a risk. I emailed the boutique again, this time from a fake Gmail account. Said I was Avery's assistant and needed copies of receipts for the fittings to match our records. A little illegal? Maybe. A lot satisfying? Absolutely. And it worked. They sent me everything. Appointment dates, itemized invoices, even fitting notes. The fittings overlapped with Danielle's. Not just same week, same day. Sometimes even the same hour. He was going to both boutiques back to back, helping two women choose dresses for weddings they thought were theirs alone. My blood went cold, and then hot, because I realized what I had to do. I wasn't just going to tell Danielle. I wasn't going to confront Travis. I wasn't going to scream or cry or beg for someone to explain. No, I was going to wait, plan, watch. And when the moment was right, I'd make them both wish they'd never tried to erase me. People think betrayal hits all at once, like a crash, a sudden, violent shattering of everything you believed in. But that's not how it felt for me. For me, it was quiet. I sat on my bed, laptop still open, email from the boutique glowing on the screen. The PDFs were still downloading, rows of appointment logs, invoice totals, payment confirmations, all proof, all irrefutable. And yet, I couldn't move. My room felt too still, too neat, like it didn't belong to someone whose world had just imploded. And then, almost randomly, I noticed the blanket at the foot of my bed, a wedding gift I had bought early, months ago. Ivory cashmere, hand-stitched initials, D+T, Danielle and Travis. I had cried happy tears when I ordered it. I remembered thinking, this is the start of their forever. Now I stared at those letters like they were mocking me. That was when the tears came. Not loud sobs, just leaking. Slow, uncontrollable streams down my cheeks as I curled into myself. Not because of what Travis had done, but because of what Danielle had allowed. I kept asking myself the same question over and over again. Did she know? Because if she didn't, if she was just another victim, I could almost forgive her. But if she did, then it wasn't just betrayal. It was cruelty. Calculated, cold, and deliberate. And then came the memories. The ones that hurt even more than the receipts. The night I stayed up till 2 a.m. fixing her seating chart because she couldn't figure out where to put her college friends. The $10,000 deposit I wired for the venue when she was crying on the phone about losing the date. The moment she hugged me in the bridal boutique and whispered, I couldn't do this without you. Lies. All of it. She could do it without me. She wanted to do it without me. She just didn't want to pay for it without me. And that realization burned deeper than anything Travis had done. Because he was a snake. I could live with that. But she was supposed to be blood. Sisters are supposed to protect each other. Stand up for each other. Choose each other when no one else will. But she didn't choose me. She chose her dress, her venue, her illusion, and left me on the outside, forgotten, erased. The rage didn't come all at once either. It started as a flicker, a question. Why would she do this to me? And then another. What if this isn't the first time she's done something like this? I started remembering things. How Danielle had dated my high school crush in secret. How she borrowed money from me in college and never paid it back. How, when our mother passed, she left all the logistics, paperwork, funeral arrangements, everything, to me while she disappeared for a grief retreat. She's been using me her whole life. This wedding? It was just the grandest version of what she's always done. The difference now was, I saw it, clearly, painfully, and I was done playing the fool. So I got up, wiped my face, walked over to my closet. I opened a box I hadn't touched in years, my journals, old notebooks, receipts, memories. I pulled out everything I had, every email, every wire transfer, every photo, every invitation draft with my notes scribbled on it. And then I did something I never thought I'd do. I made a folder called The Wedding Files. Inside it, I started collecting everything. Screenshots of boutique conversations, pictures of Travis and Avery, expense spreadsheets, every detail of my involvement, every dollar I spent. Why? Because I wasn't going to ask for answers anymore. I wasn't going to cry into my pillow and hope for closure. I was going to build something undeniable, something devastating. Let them have their ceremony. Let them smile for the cameras. Let Danielle pretend she built her dream day with grace and gratitude. Because soon enough, I'd make sure everyone knew the truth. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone. I've always been underestimated. Quiet, reliable, the one in the background, the one who fixes things without needing credit. And that's exactly what they were counting on. Danielle and Travis had no idea that I knew. No clue that I had seen the dress boutique invoices, or that I had a digital folder building itself by the hour, filled with receipts and time-stamped betrayal. They were out there smiling for cameras, doing food tastings, curating playlists like they were planning some kind of royal event. And I was planning too, but mine wasn't a wedding. It was a reckoning. The first thing I did was stop responding to Danielle's messages. Nothing too obvious, just slower replies, vague answers. She didn't notice. Or if she did, she didn't care. Her texts had become cold and transactional anyway. Can you approve the photographer's balance? Need your RSVP for the welcome dinner. Are you still handling the shuttle service? Still handling. I wanted to laugh. She was talking to me like I was an event planner she barely knew. Not the woman who had funded 80% of her dream day, but I played along because I needed her to feel safe, secure, unbothered. The second thing I did was reach out to an old friend from college, Emily. She was a PR manager now, the kind who handled social media disasters for influencers and companies when things went sideways. We hadn't spoken in years, but when I told her I needed quiet help revealing a double engagement without legal blowback, she didn't ask questions. Expose them socially, she said, not legally. Just enough to ruin the narrative. People don't care about lawsuits, they care about shame. Exactly what I needed. So we came up with a plan. A 3-phase strategy to be exact. Phase 1. Play the role. I continued acting like nothing was wrong. I transferred the final payment to the venue. I confirmed catering. I even sent Danielle a fake draft of a toast I said I'd give at the rehearsal dinner. One that praised her for being the most loyal, radiant sister I've ever known. She loved it. Said it made her cry. Of course she cried. She had no idea those tears were only just beginning. Phase 2. Gather the audience. I created a private Instagram account under a different name, one that looked like a wedding gossip page, something innocent, like evow files. I started posting generic content, celebrity weddings, dress inspiration, viral first dances, and slowly, it grew. Within a week, I had over 1,000 followers, brides, bridesmaids, nosy strangers. Then I posted a teaser. Coming soon, the story of a $80,000 wedding, paid by a sister who wasn't even invited, and that's just the beginning. The comments exploded. People love drama, especially pretty expensive drama. But I wasn't ready to drop the bomb yet. First, I needed Danielle to tie the final bow. So I waited, and waited, until one morning, 2 weeks before the wedding, I got a text from her. Hey, just confirming you'll be sitting with the service staff for dinner? Less awkward that way. Hope that's okay. Less awkward. Sitting with the staff. Like I was help. Not even a guest. Just a wallet with legs. And that was the moment I stopped feeling conflicted. She deserved every second of what was coming. Phase 3. Light the match. The day before the wedding, I posted the full story to the Instagram page. Pictures, screenshots, a video from the boutique of Travis with Avery, even a snippet of the boutique staff saying power couple. I blurred faces, enough to avoid legal issues, but clear enough that anyone who knew them would know. I didn't tag Danielle. I didn't need to. By noon, it had 10,000 views. By midnight, 40,000. And the comments? Let's just say, sympathy was not on their side. I watched it unfold in silence, phone buzzing every few seconds as strangers dissected their lives. My favorite comment? Imagine funding a wedding and not even getting a slice of cake. Jail. But I wasn't done yet. The final piece? A small personalized card I had printed and sent to Danielle's hotel the night before her big day. It was delivered directly to her bridal suite. Simple cream envelope, gold lettering. Inside, just one line. Enjoy your big day. You planned it so well. Too bad it's not the only one he's having this month. No name, no return address. Just the truth. Let her wonder. Let her panic. Because the real show? It hadn't even started yet. The morning of the wedding was sunny. Perfectly so. A soft breeze, blue skies, white linen canopies fluttering gently along the shoreline. It looked like a movie set. Every detail meticulously in place. The florist had outdone herself. Peonies, white orchids, vines draped over the altar like something out of a royal wedding. Danielle got exactly what she wanted. But the thing about picture-perfect days, they don't last. I woke up early, not because I had anywhere to be. Danielle had made it clear I wasn't needed, but because I wanted to watch everything unfold from a distance. Not physically. I wasn't that dramatic. I wasn't going to storm the ceremony in a red dress or throw wine on her veil. That's not my style. No, my style was quieter, smarter. The Instagram page had passed 75,000 views overnight. Messages flooded in from women sharing their own betrayal stories. Former co-workers of Travis DM'd the page, confirming he had always been sketchy. Even someone claiming to be Avery's roommate reached out, saying, "She's gonna flip when she sees this." But Danielle? She was blissfully unaware. At least, until noon. That's when the first whisper hit. A bridesmaid pulled her aside, phone in hand, saying she'd just gotten tagged in some weird wedding tea account, and that Danielle's name was trending. Danielle laughed it off, at first. But then another message came in, then another, and another. She stopped smiling. Still, she held it together. She always was good at pretending. By 1:30 p.m., as the final makeup touch-ups were happening, one of Travis's groomsmen pulled him aside and said, "Dude, we have a problem." The problem? The story had now reached over 100,000 people, and someone had cross-referenced the boutique video with Danielle's actual wedding date and posted a side-by-side comparison of both dresses. The comments were merciless. "So he's marrying 2 women? Same month? Can't believe she paid for this circus. I hope that sister has a front row seat to the chaos." No one knew my name, but everyone knew hers. I imagined Danielle scrolling through the comments. That familiar heat in her chest, that sudden shortness of breath when you realize you're not in control anymore. The best part? I never said a word. I never posted her name, never tagged her, never used a single identifiable photo. But I gave the internet just enough breadcrumbs, and they devoured it. By 2 p.m., Travis was in full damage control mode. He pulled Danielle into a private room, where, I assume, he tried to explain away a second engagement, overlapping fittings, and a very public meltdown online. I wish I could have heard that conversation, but I didn't need to. Because 15 minutes later, their wedding coordinator came storming out toward the venue staff, barking orders. "No phones. Lock down social media. Tell everyone to stay off Instagram." Too late. People were already whispering. Guests scrolling during the pre-ceremony cocktails were starting to piece it together. Aunt Linda whispering to Uncle Craig. Bridesmaids fake smiling for photos while exchanging, "Have you seen it?" glances. The dream was unraveling, and I watched it all from the peace of my couch. Sipping iced coffee, in leggings, hair in a messy bun. Not a care in the world. By 3 p.m., Danielle still hadn't walked down the aisle. Guests were fidgeting. Champagne was running low. One of the ushers asked if the ceremony was delayed. No one answered him. And then, it happened. Danielle came outside, alone. No bouquet, no veil. Just her in the $12,000 dress I paid for, standing at the top of the aisle with fire in her eyes. She didn't smile, didn't wave. She just looked around at her guests, her curated audience, and said something. I couldn't hear it, but I knew. She was trying to salvage it, control the narrative. She probably blamed internet trolls or jealous exes, but the damage was done, because Avery had seen it too. Oh yes, she had found the page. She even liked the post. And not just that, she commented. "Funny, I was supposed to be marrying him next weekend." That comment, screenshotted, shared, reposted. Travis's face must have gone white when he saw it, because by sunset, the entire event was falling apart. The ceremony was never held. Guests were ushered out awkwardly. Photographers were told to delete images. Vendors weren't paid in full. And me? I never had to raise my voice. Never had to show up. All I did was show the truth. If it were you, would you have exposed everything like that? Or just walked away in silence? Tell me in the comments. And get ready, because what happens next flips everything upside down. It had been 3 days since the wedding that never happened. 3 days of complete silence. No texts, no calls, no passive-aggressive Instagram posts. Just silence. Until I heard a knock on my apartment door. I looked through the peephole and froze. Danielle. no makeup, hair messy, still wearing what looked like a hotel robe thrown over leggings, and her face was unlike anything I'd seen on her before. Not angry, not cold, just tired. I opened the door. She didn't say a word, just stepped inside, dropped her purse on the floor, and stood in the middle of my living room like a ghost. I waited. She finally looked at me and said, "It was you, wasn't it?" I didn't lie. I didn't explain. I just nodded. A long, heavy silence stretched between us. She didn't cry. Neither did I. It was like we both knew crying wasn't going to fix anything anymore. Then she whispered something I didn't expect. I knew. At first, I thought I'd misheard her. "You what?" I asked. She looked at me, eyes glassy. I knew. Not at first. But I found out. A couple of months ago. I sat down. Then why? Because I was afraid. She cut in, voice shaking. Because I had already told the world this was my perfect life. Because I thought if I just ignored it, pushed through the wedding, maybe, somehow, it would be okay. She ran a hand through her tangled hair and gave a broken laugh. And because I didn't want to admit you were right. About him. About me. About everything. I stared at her. I wasn't sure what hit me harder. The fact that she knew and still let me pay for it all. Or the fact that she had been willing to go through with a fake marriage just to protect her image. "You let me spend $80,000, I said slowly, knowing he was engaged to someone else. Danielle shook her head, desperate. I thought I could fix it. I thought if I just got to the wedding, if I got the ring, if I showed the world I was the one, he'd stop whatever that thing with Avery was. My jaw clenched. You were willing to lie to everyone. To me? To yourself? Just so you didn't have to look like the one who got played? She looked at me with red, tired eyes. I'm not proud of it. That was the first honest thing she'd said in a long time. I stood, crossing my arms. So what now, Danielle? You want an apology? Closure? My blessing? No, she said quietly. I want to know why. Why you exposed me. You could have just walked away. Let me humiliate myself, but you made it public. I took a breath, and for the first time, I let her hear everything I had kept bottled up. Because I needed you to feel it, I said. To feel something. For once in your life, I wanted you to be held accountable for what you do to people. To me. Her eyes flickered, but she didn't interrupt. You've used me your whole life, I continued. Mom's death? You disappeared. College? I paid your tuition one semester when you blew your money on handbags. Every single time you needed someone, I was there. And every time I needed you, you were gone. I paused. But this? This was different. This wasn't just selfish. This was cruel. She closed her eyes and whispered, I know. We stood there, two women raised by the same mother, but shaped by different survival instincts. One always giving, the other always taking. Finally, Danielle looked up. You ruined me. No, I said calmly. You ruined you. I just turned on the light. She nodded slowly, like she finally accepted it. Then she picked up her purse, walked to the door, and before she left, turned back and said, I don't expect you to forgive me, but I do hope one day you'll remember. I was your sister before I became your mistake. And just like that, she was gone. It's funny how silence can be louder than chaos. After Danielle walked out of my apartment, I didn't move for a while. I just sat there, letting the weight of everything settle. The lies, the betrayal, the truth, all of it. And strangely, I felt calm. No more guessing, no more waiting, no more wondering if I was overreacting or being too sensitive or imagining things. Everything was out in the open now. The wedding was ruined, their secrets exposed, and I hadn't had to scream, cry, or throw a single glass. But I wasn't done yet, because while revenge feels good, clarity feels better. And what I wanted now was closure, not the emotional kind, the financial kind. I sat down that night and opened the folder I'd been building for weeks. I reviewed every transaction, the designer dress, the $10K venue deposit, the calligraphy invitations, the cake tasting, which I didn't even get to attend, the florist, the makeup trials, the string quartet she had to have. Every cent was documented, down to the $427 I paid for custom guest welcome bags. $80,000, $236. And Danielle knew it. I had the receipts, yes, but more than that, I had her words, emails and texts where she acknowledged the costs, thanked me, even promised to reimburse some of it after the honeymoon that would never happen. So I made a call. To Harvey Kaplan, a no-nonsense attorney I'd met years ago through a client. He specialized in civil disputes and quiet settlements, the kind that never saw a courtroom but always got results. When I told him the story, he paused, then said, "You have grounds for a verbal contract claim, supported by written communication. You'll win. I don't want to destroy her," I said. "Just make it real. Make her feel it." "Understood," he said. "Let's give her a polite wake-up call." Within a week, a formal letter was delivered to Danielle through her newly hired PR rep. Simple, professional, non-negotiable. $80,236 in damages due to breach of implied agreement, plus emotional stress, which we left off the record for now. She had 10 days to respond. She responded in 4. They offered $60,000 as a settlement, with no admission of guilt, payable within 30 days. I accepted. And when that transfer hit my account, something in me shifted. I wasn't just getting my money back, I was getting myself back. All those years of being the helper, the fixer, the one who cleaned up after her messes, it was over. I didn't need her to say, "I'm sorry." I had everything I needed: proof, peace, and a plane ticket. Because that same day, I did something for me. I booked a one-way flight to Italy, a place I had dreamed of visiting since college. I'd always said someday when work slows down, someday when things are stable, someday when Danielle doesn't need me. But someday never comes if you're always living for other people. So now it was time. I booked first class, reserved a boutique hotel in Florence with a view of the Arno, signed up for a pasta-making class and scheduled a tour of the Tuscan countryside. Just for me. No planning, no spreadsheets, no brides to manage. Before I left, I posted one final message to the anonymous wedding page I'd created. They wanted a picture-perfect wedding. I gave them the truth instead. And now, I'm giving myself something too: freedom. The post exploded. Thousands of shares. Comments like, "You're my hero. Sisters like that don't deserve sisters like you. Can't wait for your Italian era." But I wasn't looking for followers anymore. I closed the account, transferred the remaining balance to savings, packed a single suitcase, and walked out the door, finally free. No drama, no speeches, no goodbye texts. Because the best revenge is not needing revenge at all. It's reclaiming your time, your energy, your future. And if Danielle ever wondered where I was now, all she had to do was look up. Because the woman she used to call Rachie, she was gone. And in her place stood someone new. Florence was everything I didn't know I needed. I remember waking up that first morning, opening the windows of my hotel room, and just standing there, barefoot on the cool floor, breathing in the scent of espresso and old stone. The city looked like it had been painted just for me. Sunlight draped over terracotta rooftops. Church bells rang in the distance. And for the first time in what felt like years, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: peace. It wasn't the kind of peace that comes from solving a problem or checking something off a list. It was quieter, softer. It came from not having to fix anything anymore. I didn't realize how much of my life had been spent in reaction mode, always stepping in, smoothing over, cleaning up other people's messes. I was the one who said yes, who showed up, who made things happen. And somewhere along the way, I disappeared inside that role. But not anymore. Florence gave me space to hear myself again. I wandered aimlessly and loved it. I spent hours at cafes doing nothing but people watching. I went to museums and stood in front of paintings until my feet ached. I wrote page after page in my journal. Memories, regrets, dreams. I drank too much wine. I said yes to things just because I felt like it. And slowly, something in me softened. Danielle's name stopped living in my head, rent-free. Her voice, the way it used to make me feel small, or guilty, or needed, faded. What once burned with betrayal now just felt distant, like a chapter I'd finally closed. And what I found on the other side was someone I didn't know I missed. Me. The version of me who didn't second-guess every decision. The one who laughed loudly and took up space and didn't apologize for having needs. She was still there, a little bruised, a little more cautious, but still alive. Back home, life moved on. Danielle deleted most of her online presence. From what I heard through mutuals, she went silent for a while, and so did Travis. Their engagement never recovered. And Avery? Well, she made sure the world knew the truth. Her final move? Sending Travis's ring back in an Uber with a handwritten note that simply read, "Try lying your way out of this one." I don't know what Danielle told people. I don't care. I didn't tell my side of the story to be believed. I told it to be free. That was the difference. For so long I thought closure came from apologies, from people owning what they did, from making them understand. But the truth is, sometimes closure is just choosing not to carry it anymore. Not because it didn't matter, but because you matter more. There's a strange kind of freedom that comes from realizing you don't have to keep bleeding for people who only ever offered you band-aids. That just because someone shares your blood doesn't mean they deserve your loyalty. That walking away can be an act of love, not for them, but for yourself. And that's what I did. I didn't send dramatic goodbye texts. I didn't block Danielle. I didn't post quotes or look for pity. I just left. Quietly. Completely. Finally. And the world didn't end. The sky didn't fall. No one begged me to stay. But I stayed with myself. And that was enough. I don't know what the future looks like between me and my sister. Maybe we'll speak again one day. Maybe we won't. But what I do know is this. I'll never lose myself like that again. I won't make myself small to keep the peace. I won't pay for anyone else's dreams while burying my own. And I won't confuse love with obligation ever again. Now, when I look in the mirror, I see someone who survived the kind of betrayal that doesn't leave bruises on the skin, but leaves scars on the soul. And yet, I'm still standing, stronger, wiser, softer in the right places, sharper in others. There's something beautiful about becoming the version of yourself no one saw coming. And that's who I am now. Not the sister who paid for the wedding. Not the background character in someone else's perfect day. Not the fixer or the buffer or the silent supporter, but the main character of my own life, at last. I used to think stories like mine only happened to other people. You know the kind. The stories you hear and immediately think, that would never happen to me. That's what I thought too. Until it did. Until I found myself standing in the middle of a life I had built for someone else, quietly realizing I wasn't even invited to the table anymore. I was the one holding everything up, and somehow still invisible. But here's what I've learned. Being betrayed doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. And surviving that betrayal, rising after it, choosing not to let it define you, that's real strength. I don't see myself as the sister who got used anymore. I see myself as the woman who woke up, the woman who took her power back without needing to shout, the woman who realized she didn't need a spotlight to shine. She just needed to stop dimming her own light for people who never deserved it. And if you're still here, if you've listened to my story all the way through, maybe some part of it hit close to home. Maybe you've been the one who gave too much, the one who loved too hard, the one who stayed too long. Or maybe you're just now realizing it's time to choose you. If that's the case, let me tell you something that no one else might. You don't need permission to walk away. You don't need to keep bleeding just because someone else calls it love. You are allowed to outgrow people. You are allowed to say, enough. You are allowed to protect your peace, even if it means letting go of people you once called family. So, now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you loved just to protect yourself? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. You never know who might need that final push to choose their own peace. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and come back, because there are still so many stories left to tell. And who knows, one of them might be yours.